call this meeting to order. And first on the agenda, on behalf of council and community, I want to condolences out to Deputy Mayor Lynn, loss of her father. Declarations of conflict of interest. Do any members of council have a conflict of interest with any items on today's agenda?
Oh, sorry, just give me 1 second here. I have to adjust the camera. Sorry. There we go. Okay. No, no, sorry. I just wanted to let everyone know what I was doing. Okay.
Approval of the agenda. Any other items, suggested items for today's agenda meeting?
Yes, I have four. There's an update that's going to be provided from Councilor Carter. There's an item on the Connect Park, which is yours, and then I'll follow up with what I found out. There's also community pantry update from Ashley and Islander Day update from Ashley. And I believe both of those had some input from Councillor Bryson before she kicked out her leave of absence. Yeah. So those will be on the 13th.
So, any others? Anyone else got anything to add? I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as presented. Moved by Trish, seconded by Billy. All in favor?
Hi.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay, public presentations, if any. Any of our public want to have a presentation? Adoption of the February 15th, 2023 council meeting minutes.
Moved by Charlie.
Moved by Charlie, seconded by Trish. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Business arising from the February 15th, 2023 meeting minutes.
There is no business arising from the 15th meeting, not already on today's.
Adoption of the March 8th, 2023 Community Grants Committee meeting minutes. Previously distributed, all changes incorporated. These minutes to be approved by committee members only. There are no other committee meetings scheduled for the near future. Can I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of the March 8th Community Grants Committee meeting?
That can be a committee only, but I think Jim had a question. Oh no, that one's for that.
It's for the,
Oh, the community grants, yeah, that's, yeah, sorry. Sorry, Jim.
so it's moved by Jim,
I'll second.
seconded by Billy. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Business arising from the March 8th, 2023 Community Grants Committee meetings to be chaired by Councillor Billy.
Following the deliberations of the Community Grants Committee regarding the 23-24 Community Grants Program applications, the following recommendations for Council's consideration. The recommended grant allocations are as follows. The Belfast Rural Fire Department, $110,000. Belfast Rec Center through the GBI PEI Rink Grant, $8,500. Belfast Rec Center Operations, $26,500. The Belfast Rec Center Warming Center, one-time grant of $11,600. The Belfast Public Trails, $0. Belfast Area Watershed Group, $5,500. Belfast Days, $3,500. The Belfast Historical Society, that was the, which one?
The operation.
Yeah, that's the operations one, 4,000. And the Belfast Historical Society Walking Trail, $0. Belfast Minor Hockey, $3,000. Community Yoga and Wellness, $1,000. Horses 101, learning all about horses, $1,200. The Municipal Lodge Restoration, $0. Net Flat River Mosquito Control Program, $0. Net Raceway Incorporated, $2,000. Pauline Pioneer Cemetery Restoration, $1,500. Point Prim Community Movie, $0. Point Prim Lighthouse Society, $3,000. The Lupin House, $0. Ring River Belfast Community Pantry, $2,300. The Wood Islands Market Operations Wyback, $10,000. And Wood Islands Lighthouse Operations, $3,000. For a grand total of $196,600. And following that, the committee is recommending that any organization, caveat that states that any organization receiving a community grant from this point forward be required to produce a summary report on how the awarded community grants funds were utilized. Any group who does not provide such report will not be eligible for future community grants.
We have a mover and a seconder to approve the two recommendations above of the Community Grants Committee as presented for all the council. Moved by Trish, seconded by Charlie. All in favor? Nays? Motion carried. It should also be noted that community members requested a future grant applications to enhance the, and to ask for a breakdown of how the grant money is to be spent. Administration will make that enhancement and to be included in future applications. Our CAO report, presented by our CAO, Bob Root.
Mayor Gillis, so the financial report, financial variance and planning report, provincial credit union account balances at March 6th. As you can see, we're sitting in a healthy position. Our cash flow is all set up to be able to pay the community grants starting on April 1st. So we're actually doing pretty good, but the individual line items will be discussed at length coming up in when we discuss the budget. So our finances are on track, and we're actually looking pretty good for this year. Oh, I should also mention that as we discussed in the last council meeting, item F talks about the reserve savings, GICs are sitting there a little over $65,000, and as agreed for the last meeting, it'll be discussed on how council wants to utilize those funds during the strategic planning session that will be coming up sometime this summer. Did anybody have any questions about the financial stuff? Like I said, we'll be going line by line in budget items.
Okay. Silver distribution, presented by Ashley Messenger.
Okay, so our contact at Saltwire is looking at having flyer trees placed around Canada Post super boxes in Belfast. They are hoping to move ahead with the installation of these flyer trees as soon as the ground thaws. Once it is confirmed that these boxes are a go-ahead, I'll let everyone know and just keep everybody posted on on what's going on with that. So yeah.
So actually, what does that mean for the delivery to individual houses? That
So,
will still continue?
yeah, that will still continue, delivery to individuals, as long as you're not on a non-delivery list. If you reached out to me and let's say you are on the non-delivery list and you're still getting flyers, I will be following up with everybody anyway this week, just to make sure that it's going well. And if it's not, then I'm going to touch base with our contact again, just to make sure that we're on the same page.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Am I allowed to say something? So at Islander Day, it was brought up that if we can get these boxes, if we could possibly be in touch with the Belfast newsletter
Okay.
and possibly have some of those dropped off as well, just because some residents aren't getting them, especially on some of these muddy roads.
Okay.
So possibly if we could add that.
That's a great idea. All right. Thank you.
Belfast Live Company's letter delivered by Canada Post to every postal address.
I don't know.
Sorry, Ken, say that again.
I said, isn't the Belfast Live newsletter, isn't it delivered by Canada Post to every address in the
Yes.
Belfast community?
The Alliance newsletter is delivered by mail to every post box.
So for those that live on a muddy road where it's not safe for delivery, if they have a rural mailbox, then during the mud seasons, if the postal truck can't get down there, then they have an alternative, whether or not it's picked up at Montague or wherever the post office Belfast. But if the truck can't get down, they won't receive their regular mail, therefore they won't receive the Belfast newsletter.
That makes sense.
Okay. Our Fighting Fire program.
Okay, so during the 22-23 budget deliberations, council decided to delay a proposed municipal-wide mosquito abatement program for further discussion with proponents of the program. On that, the CAO I was in regular contact with the proponents, which included possible options for moving forward. Ultimately, though, the proponents decided not to bring forward a municipal-wide proposal at this time, and instead opted for a smaller, more targeted mosquito abatement program for this year, and that was included within the 23-24 community grants applications. The group has not taken a municipal-wide option off the table altogether and may bring forward a new proposal at a later date. And as you heard earlier, they also did not receive a community grant for the smaller program, so I would expect that we'll probably hear from them proposal at a later date. Oh, and this Fighting Flash program item was actually captured when we did our live streaming because it came in from one of the viewers from our Facebook live stream. So because they were asking about it, we added it to the agenda. So anybody out there that is looking to hear about something, just send us a line.
Any questions? The 2023-2024 budget and financial plan.
Okay, I'll bring it up. Handy dandy projection screen. So there's a few things that you will notice. You remember that we did have some changes. We went through the first draft of the budget. On February 15th, and we passed and made a few changes. So there's the draft that you see now before you, dated February the 15th, and that's after the first reading of the budget. It also includes a few things. If you look at I-1, the very first item, assessment income, the numbers have now been received from the province. and have been incorporated into the draft budget, so you can see exactly what's expected to come in from the government of PEI with a 0% tax increase. So there's no, in this draft, it's showing no tax increase. The next item you should look at is item E4, regarding advertising and website. Excuse me. When I did the projections for January, I missed one $600 invoice that should be in the annual charges. So now that is in the draft. It originally said it found something, now it says 1,600. Hold on a sec. The next item they take a look at is E6, and that's in regards to WCB. WCB just sent us a new fees for 2023, which was about $500 more than was expected. So now the new figure projection is in the budget with the higher fees, and we did receive the invoices, so those are firm numbers. And then also you remember E7 ABC in regards to MEM, or the Municipal Emergency Management Plan. We had asked for $5,000 to be added to the budget, and then anything not used would start a MEM reserve for a warming center or any emergency, so that we have some money set aside in case there's an emergency. That is also now in the budget. And finally, if you look at E13, E13 is the community grants that were just approved just now. All those line items are now listed as to who is receiving the funds, which brings the community grant portion to $78,100 this year, which is up last year it was $64,000, this year it's $78,100. So that's because we have two one-time grants in there. That, when you look at all the changes that we've made, it's showing a negative balance of $14,837. However, that overage in expenditures is not a problem, as it will be taken care of by our projected surplus. If you look at this, 24,000, you know, because when the auditor gets a hold of the document and starts doing adjustments and amortization, or surplus might look around 20 or so, but so that 14 will eat up some of that surplus that we have. However, it's still sustainable because of the one-time options. So next year it will be approximately $13,000 less than you know, for normal expenditures for the community grants.
Could you talk a little bit of the budget?
Sorry?
Could you talk close to the top of the budget? I got a question about that.
How far?
Keep going. Okay, right there. No, keep higher yet.
The revenues?
Yeah. Did government make an announcement about 6 or 7 weeks ago about there being an assessment adjustment equal to the one in 2000 in the last fiscal year?
Yes. What they did is they said there's going to be an adjustment. We are expected to see a few $1,000s from that adjustment.
Didn't they say it was going to be the same as last year?
Yes, as a matter of fact, well, sorry, if you look at the numbers for commercial and non-commercial, you'll see the rate is set at the same assessment rates as they had last year. Now, what has changed is the population base that's made up of, and also the assessment of the individual operations. So while the rate may have stayed the same, for example, if your house was assessed $10,000 more than it was last year, then it'll be slightly higher. So there is going to be the rates, as according to the government, has stayed the same. However, when they gave us the number on February 15th, or actually on the 14th, but that was, we hadn't seen it by the time we came to the budget meeting. These are the numbers that they gave us by letter.
I thought it wiped out 5% increase.
Oh, I can tell you,
understand the wrong,
these are
they
the
said.
exact numbers that the province provided us.
Well, last year it was 16,605.
Yeah.
So with the 5% worked out to be similar this year. The adjustment.
There was an adjustment, but when I contacted the province, they said these two numbers, 16.5 and the 284.7, is the exact rates for the assessment that we're supposed to be getting at those same rates, based on the assessment numbers that they have. So
Yeah, I understand
these
that.
numbers came in on the 14th, so That's all I have to
I'm
work
just talking about the assessment adjustment.
yeah, that's all I have.
Because they made an announcement that it was going to be the same as last year, about 6 weeks, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
We just didn't have to see that. There's none of those figures yet.
You'll notice that if you look at the numbers, the commercial assessment rate pretty much was unchanged, but there was an extra $20,000 that came in regard to the non-commercial because of the improvements that were on residential housing. Anyway, those are the firm numbers that we got from the province by letter. That brought our revenues to $469,000, and then after what we just went through, that will give us a $14,000 shortfall, which will be covered by the surplus. However, that's not to say that at a later date they may not come out with other changes. That's their prerogative. But this is all we have in writing at the moment.
Okay, I have a question about the advertising on the website.
Sure.
How do we, what attribute to those charges?
Okay.
What advertising do you do?
In your package, under the notes, under E4, you'll notice that the 23-24 numbers are based for the Belfast newsletter advertising and the website hosting, and then there's $600 for other charges in the website. However, normally, if it's an election year, you would see a higher amount for the advertising, if, for election. But there's no, the only advertising we plan for annually is the website, Facebook, and the Belfast newsletter. Oh, and in addition to the Belfast newsletter, there's the community calendars, which were also included. You'll notice that last year under E4, there was $1,400 spent. So for this projection, it's $1,600. But that's because of the higher rate that I just mentioned over here.
Our workers' compensation board, that covers only one part-time employee.
Now, in two part-time employees, even though the third one, like, actually is a part-time employee. It covers Jill, who's also a part-time employee, but she only does the occasional projects. So WCB has the amount of hours that are projected for both those people, as well as myself. So it's actually three with WCB.
So this new CAO contract, is that one that we have to approve?
No.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but you approved it all, well, you didn't approve it. But every year in October, it's a January 1.
So
to
somebody
December-
else did.
Yeah, December 31st contract. So in October of this coming year, councilors will be asked to approve the 2024 contract. Any other questions from anybody?
Well put together, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so, because of the changes or amendments that were made and the assessment income and the different projection lines, you'll notice that, here's one other thing that I wanted to mention. A couple of years ago, Councillor Gamble asked a question. He said, how are we doing as far as other communities and our mill rates? How do we compare to the other communities? And at the time, the PEI government wasn't taking or issuing stats on that information. However, I had presented that to them, and about a month ago, they released the tax rates and census data for the PEI municipalities for 2021. So even though it's going to be 1 year out of date, I'm very pleased to let you know that we had 9 comparable data. Those comparable communities also was the one that helped us set council remuneration. It helped us set comparatives for the CAO contract. And if we look at those same 9 comparable communities, the average was for non-commercial mill rate is 0.296. Belfast's rate at that time in 21 was 0.150. So basically we were half of what the average was. And for the commercial rate, the average on the island, or for those 9 communities, was 0.630 mill rate. And the Belfast rate was 0.250. So we were 1/3 of what the average was. So to answer Councillor Gamble's question, we're doing really well.
And that comparison is by population?
Yeah, well, the 9 communities that we picked, we picked them for the population range between 1,000 and 2,000. So those were those 9 communities that we selected. We had actually selected another one, but we didn't get any data on that, so it ended up being out of 9. The province did also look at the commercial or the non-commercial rates, commercial and non-commercial rates for all the municipalities, and the average worked out to be 0.275, and as I said, ours was 0.150. So even across the whole island, we ended up being half of them. but the rest of the
So
island.
those ones that we use for comparative things like Montague, Surrey.
No,
Kensington.
population of 1,000 to 2,000.
Okay, but they deliver services, we don't deliver any services.
Correct, and they have a lot more than 1,000 to 2,000 people too.
So,
What,
we,
Montague?
Yeah,
you know, I'll tell you the communities that we use, they're in a population range between 1,000 and 2,000.
Yeah.
The majority of them are rural, but some of them aren't. So the ones that fall into that category, between 1 and 2 is Central Prince, which is 1,129, Kingston, which is 1,111, Alpec Bay, which is 1,191, Miltonville Park, which is 1,196, North Shore is 2,500, Alberton was 1,301, Kingston was 1,812, and Surrey was 1,079. Those 9 communities were selected for comparables when we set the remuneration rates for both council and CAO. So this is the data for those communities in 2021. And most of them are similar to us, where they provide little to no services per se. But there's no infrastructure that they do, they don't handle the roads or anything like that. So we're in an enviable position of being one of the low tax rates on the island. Cool. So thanks for the question. Years ago.
No.
sorry for the delay in the answer.
Yeah, that's right.
Had to get into a second term just to get an answer.
Okay, so now because of the changes that we had made in the last meeting and the updates that I just told you about, there's 3 amendments. If you look on page 404, you'll actually, it starts on page 3 of 4, you'll see amendment 1 is the updated 23-24 assessment income from the government of PEI that they provided us. That's included in the budget. Amendment 2 is the updated 22-23 and 23-24 administrative changes in the 23-24 budget. Those were the yellow highlight ones. And the third one was the community grants allocations. So before we move on to any other suggested amendments, we need a mover and a seconder just to get those 3 out of the way.
May we have a mover and a seconder for to approve the amendments 1, 2, and 3 above as presented?
I'll move.
Moved by Billy, second by Trish. All in favor? Nays? Motion carried. Okay, further budget discussion and amendment. Number 4.
So there's nothing other that came up during our previous discussions, but if you have an amendment suggestion to be tabled and discussed, now's the time. If not, then mover, having had for we just skip that. Yeah, we just skip that. Okay.
So, having had first reading of the 2023-2024 RMB budget and having had the acceptance of the variance amendments to the 2023-2024 RMB budget, the 2023-2024 RMB budget financial plan and capital plan is now ready for second reading as amended and final approval. May I have a mover and a seconder to approve second reading of the 2023-2024 Rural Municipality of Belfast budget, financial plan, and capital plan as amended for final approval. Moved by Billy, second by Trish. All in favor? Nays? Motion carried. Okay, new business for the agenda. As discussed by item 3.
So first up, we have an update from Councilor Carter.
Yes, this is very exciting to read this update. Dear Mayor Garth Gillis,
What can I do?
capturing his face,
No,
I wish to congratulate you on being awarded the Queen Elizabeth II Platinum Jubilee Medal for Prince Edward Island. This award honors the extraordinary contribution you have made to your community, the province's Prince Edward Island, and the country. An honor that Garth received in person during the public ceremony on March 9th. Congratulations, Mayor Gillis.
Thank you very much.
I have a picture of you accepting the award, but it's not coming up for
it's very slow, that laptop. It is.
smiling in all his glory.
Yes.
It takes a while to like. There we go. I think it's there. It is. I told you it was a little slow.
All cleaned up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good as it gets, baby.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay,
We'll
next.
just leave that up there. So the
Yeah.
whole community-
Put it all over Facebook.
It is on. It's all over Facebook.
Next up was the pet park item from.
Not so much Panett Park, but it was brought to my attention last week on a stormy day I was out about. And people of boats have concerns over what they done to the slip at Panett for putting in their boats and taking boats out. They've done a lot of work to it last winter, spring, and they seem to have made quite a mess of it. It's unsafe for people to put their boats in, and if it's not a high or close to high tide, they can't get them in or out of the water. And so the oyster fishers and the boaters, and come spring, it's gonna be likely an issue for their lobster fishing. They have could be a safety factor. If they need to get their boat out of the water, they can't do it until it's high tide. There's a couple of 100 yards of sand before you get to the slip on the low tide now. They changed the direction or something of it.
Who did the work on this?
I haven't a clue.
Department of Transportation.
Say that again?
It was the Department of Transportation.
Oh, Department of Transportation, yeah.
So
They hired someone.
So I followed up with Garth's issue, and I contacted the province. Originally, it was fisheries and communities, but they said the project was too big for them, so they handed it over to the Department of Transportation. And according to the earlier information that I got, they said the project was all finished. However, I got a call from the manager of one of the managers of aquatics in fisheries and ocean and communities, and she had said that there was some further discussion that needed to happen with people. So I'll just continue to follow up, but I will. When I talk to them again, I'll mention to them that there's concerns by some fishermen that,
And boaters in general.
and boaters that the slip is now actually harder to use.
Is,
Unsafe.
yeah. And it's unsafe.
So I'll pass that on, and
Every time of year, I guess.
I'll let people know what's
Maybe
going
our
on.
MLA, our future MLA can fix that rail for us.
It's on my list.
The next two items were from Ashley, the Community
Oh.
Entry and Island.
Okay.
Okay, so Islander Day, the event was well attended. Many individuals and families came out for a meal and to take part in the activities. The cookie decorating and display from Bog were a really big hit. There were just enough volunteers to make everything run smoothly, and despite a minor dishwasher spillover, everything went off without a hitch. So good job for Islander Day.
How many people would come up with something like that?
I can't speak to that because
20, 50, 100?
I can't speak to that.
Lower than what, because the Women's Institute did the cookie decorating, and there's a lot less than previous years due to the weather that we had that day.
Yeah.
I can follow
I
up.
think my kids did a lot of the cookies. But there was still a good turnout.
Yeah.
Like the
I think
tables
Jill
were
said about
busy.
65,
Yeah.
I think is what Jill
Okay.
said.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. There was definitely over 50, and there wasn't that much food left over. Like it was a good turnout.
It's unfortunate all the outside activities couldn't be done. 'cause
Yeah,
it
the
was
rain.
just awful. And that day before was gorgeous, but
But 65 is actually a good turnout considering the weather.
Mm.
I did see a few scavenger hunters going out in the rain looking for those little,
And as far as the community pantry goes, there's no updates on that right now. There will be a meeting April 2nd, so there should be more information after following that.
The only other thing I wanted to mention on that community pantry thing is that we were going to mention it in our Facebook site because we actually have a counselor who is involved with the community pantry. She has offered that if people bring community pantry items to the regular council meetings, then she will make sure they get to the community pantry for them. That would be Councillor Bryson. Well, when she becomes a councillor again.
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. That offer is out there.
Did anyone ever approach from that health food store about putting some kind of collection bin where they haven't been collected from that?
I'm gonna bring it up at the meeting on Sunday. Yeah, I've got a whole list to bring out to them.
I will gladly offer
Take one as
Gala
well.
Designs for I can't refrigerate, but certainly I'm happy
For
to
donations.
donate for non-perishables.
Okay, perfect.
We'll add that to the minutes.
Next meeting, the regular meeting of council is scheduled for Wednesday, April 19th, 2023 at 7 p.m. here in the upstairs at the Wood Islands Market. RMB strategic plan session to be announced. This session will be open to the public and will take place at the Wood Islands Market probably on a weekend or afternoon again.
I should also add, it's not on this, I should also add, though, I had a conversation or email with Fulton. They're eager to get started with the planning, or official plan and bylaw, development bylaw talks again. And that is also to be announced. And this time when we do that meeting, we will have the assistance of a local development officer, the same one that will eventually work with RMB once we have a plan and bylaw in place. And if everything goes as planned, that would come into force on April 1st. So in the next few months, we'll start advertising about the official plan again and continue on with the community consultation. So that'll also be to be announced.
When you say April 1st, you're not thinking like 26th April, 10 or 15 days from now. It's the next April.
That would be April 1st, 2024.
Okay. Oh, adjournment. If there is no further business, I'll move the meeting over to adjournment.